Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist, and I help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups. PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is in approximately 1 in 5 women, and it makes you want to break up with your partner approximately 1 to 2 weeks before your period every single month. So as someone who has suffered with PMDD for over 18 years, I dedicated my doctorate practice to helping partners navigate those monthly PMDD breakups with everything from attachment styles, triggers, sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to touch, all of the things that you really struggle with when you're in PMDD. And I also dedicated my dissertation to a phenomenological study of the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who suffer with premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I'm not just here to help the sufferer, the one who is suffering with PMDD. I am here for the partners as well. So if you need those private sessions, make sure you go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those tools. So let's get into this week's PMDD trauma transformational tools that is going to help you stop the monthly breakups and stop the suffering and stress in your PMDD relationship. Let's get into it.
Today, we are going to be talking about how my PMDD partner called me out. So if you've listened to some of my earlier episodes, actually my first episode was on how I called my PMDD partner out, and I was giving you permission to do the same thing. And lo and behold, it happened to me. So this happened this last PMDD round where me and my PMDD partner were arguing about a lot of issues that have come up this past PMDD, not specifically just with the sleeping, but just, every single time we go and do things, I have all of these particulars that I try to do to ensure that we don't get into arguments while we're in PMDD. And we were going back and forth for days and days and days, but we were having a session. So I don't know if all of you know, if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I have a session, a private session like I do with my private clients with my PMDD partner every single week. So we were having one of those sessions, and I try to be in a relaxed position. I try not to be stressed. I try not to have a lot on my plate when I'm having that conversation with him because I'm trying to get the most out of it. And so I was kind of in that open space. So if you have a conversation with your partner when you're in your follicular days, your good days, you're more likely to take their constructive criticism. You're not as offended when they tell you things that you've said and done. You kind of feel bad about it because you're in that open space and you're not having those PMDD symptoms. And that's where I was. I was in PMDD, but I was allowing myself to be open to hear what it is that my PMDD partner was saying. I was being very, very, very aware that I had, my point of view, but the point of these sessions, and all my private clients will attest to this, is getting to know what's going on with your PMDD partner as well. So many times we're so busy trying to defend ourselves that we really don't see it from our partner's point of view. And that's where the disconnect comes in. And that's when we begin to think that our partner is the enemy. If we're the only one that's defending our point of view, we're thinking that they don't care about our point of view. They don't care about our needs getting met. All they're trying to do is get their needs met. And so we're going back and forth, fighting each other over trying to make sure that we're getting our needs met. So I know for me, I had to really think about what is it that I need. And we had gone a couple of days of bare minimum communication. So a lot of times when we get to the point where we've said things and we've done things that are below the belt, we have those days where it's like we're not going to not communicate, but we're also not communicating the way we used to, like with loving language, with saying I love you, just softness. I would say there's a softness and a tenderness and a connectedness that's there. But this time we had gone we had gone I'm laughing because this is the longest that we've ever gone, like not really communicating on a connected state. And I'm the one that made the phone call and was like, hey, we need to have a session because I was kind of like, where are we going with this? Like, how long are we going to not be communicating, not be connected? And I was actually tired of it. So I don't know if you get to that point where you've been arguing with your PMDD partner, you're not seeing eye to eye, and then you just get to that point where you're just tired of not being on the same page because number one, what I always say is ask yourself that question, is this your person? Is this your person? If the answer is yes, then you're going to be in the relationship. So it's kind of like the way that I look at it is I'm prolonging the inevitable. Inevitably, we are going to talk again. We are going to communicate again. We are going to make up from this. We've done this month after month. We've done this so many times and my work is affected. I'm distracted, um, not with my private clients, with my other work, but I'm it's always in the back of my mind like this thing to do. Like I need to talk to my PMD partner about this because I have this very strong notion of I don't let issues that we have going on in our relationship no longer than a week. I'm good with giving days as long as it's respectful. I'm good with giving a day or two. Like if you need a day or two to kind of process things, if we had a really big conversations, I'm always good with that. But no longer than a week, no longer than 7 days. And we're consistently talking every day. We're communicating what's going on in our day-to-day lives. But if we don't want to address it within those couple of days, that's fine, which is why I have one session with all of my private clients that week. So sometimes with my private clients, they may have days where they're not wanting to discuss the issues that are going on, but you're still being respectful, you're still being loving as much as possible in that moment, but you may not be talking about the issue at hand. And that's fine. You don't have to force it. If your PMDD partner says that they're not ready, they're not ready. Don't try to force it because whatever comes out when you force communication when your PMDD partner is not ready, you're not going to like it and it's going to trigger you. You're going to say things that you don't mean. They're going to say things that they don't mean. And then you're back in that same rabbit hole of not really connecting. And so I decided to have this session with my PMDD partner. I'm like, listen, it's been in what I say to my partner, like 40 days and 40 nights, which is the equivalent of like over 48 hours. 72 hours is pushing it. And I'm like, okay, we need to at least talk about this because the conversation that we were having was I was talking about how when he comes home on visits, because we're living apart for the time being for the next couple of months, I'm like, when you come home, everything in the home environment shifts. So, like, we need to make sure we have certain things in place. I need to make sure that I have my basic needs met, which is sleep, which we've talked about on previous episodes. He has his own needs. One of them is intimacy, sex. Intimacy is very important. It's really important to me, but I'm more of an individual that needs to have their basic needs met, which my basic needs is like sleep. And I would say my morning routine has become one of my basic needs. I need to get my morning routine done. Before I can wrap my head around being intimate, connecting even, I need to have my morning routine done because there's so many things in my brain, my PMDD brain, that are not true. So if I wake up in the morning and I go straight to interact with my PMDD partner with all of these things that are not true, I end up beating myself up about it later because once I'm done my morning routine, I've rewired my brain, then I don't feel that same way anymore. But I'm held accountable for all the things that I said when I did feel that way. So I rather just wait until I'm finished my morning routine, sort things out, and then I can think clearly. So, and he has the basic needs of when he gets up in the morning, he really wants to connect and he wants to talk. So when he comes home, we have this kind of dance that we have to do where it's like I need to make sure his basic needs are met. I need to make sure my basic needs are met. And then we need to make sure the needs within the relationship are met. So there's levels to that. And I'm all for we can't go to meeting the needs of the relationship if I'm not good. I'm a key party in the relationship. You're a key party. And we need to make sure our needs are met before we, try to be intimate. Because if I'm not connected because I'm exhausted, because I didn't get any sleep because you were snoring, then no, I'm not acting loving. I'm cranky. Or if I'm waking up and I think the way that I react to sleep is the way a lot of my private clients react to like messes in the house or not helping with the kids or not picking up after themselves or not considering, doing some of the chores, doing the grocery shopping, a lot of domestic duties. I'm fine with doing the domestic duties as long as I get sleep. I feel like I'm a cheap date. I feel like listen, I don't need you to do anything. I just need to get sleep. And so when I feel like I'm fighting for sleep, I'm like, dude, this is the bare minimum. I'm not asking you to like mow the lawn. Well, I do want him to mow the lawn, but I'm not asking for a lot of domestic tasks, but he automatically does those. So that's the yin and the yang. I have a private client where we were talking and I was telling them about all the things that my partner does, like without me even asking. And they're like, I wish that my partner would get up and, he automatically goes and gets the groceries that we need, whatever. He knows the specific things that I like. He knows what my daughter likes. He knows what our dog likes. He will go out, he will get up early in the morning, go out and get those things, put them in places where he knows that we need them. He will mow the lawn. He will fold the laundry. He will clean the dishes. He will cook dinner, clean up after himself, pick up my plate after I'm finished with my last bite. Like he has no issue doing all of those things and he instinctively does them. And I love that. I love that he's does that for me, for us, and it's part of his character. It's not something that he's just doing it, but he hates doing it. It's just he's a very clean person and he's a very giving, gracious person. I, on the other hand, I need sleep and I need space and time to do my thing to get me ready to connect. And it's so hard for him because he is wanting that immediate connection first thing in the morning and I don't have it. I timed myself with my morning routine too. I was like, I need about a good 90 minutes. But today, I'm recording this on Saturday and I didn't have any clients this morning. I have some this afternoon, but I noticed that when I give myself the actual time, like the freedom of time, it took about 2 hours where I was just very happy. Like, I'm happy to have 2 hours in the morning to myself. And I know that sounds very weird to a lot of my anxious attached PMDD partners because they're like, what is your partner doing for those 2 hours? Like, were you checking on them? You didn't want to be around them? Like, what's going on? Because I have the avoidance style, you know, I'm good. It's not, and I'm sending, loving messages and I'm sending light and love and all the things. I'm not avoiding my PMDD partner in a way that is like I don't want to be around them, but it's also like I don't need to be around them. Like first thing in the morning, me and my PMDD partner are very opposite in that way. First 2 hours in the morning, I would love to have to myself. First 2 hours in the morning, he would love to have with me. My evenings, I would love to have with my PMDD partner. His evenings, he would love to spend it winding down and going to sleep. So this is what I mean by having to navigate things because the timing. So it's not that we're wanting different things. It is the timing of when we're wanting them that is different. And this is what I'm working with so many of my private clients with and giving them feedback and worksheets and ways of navigating the timing of when you're getting your basic needs met. Because I'm not approaching him and saying, I don't want to be loving, I don't want to be intimate. I want all of those things. Trust me. It's amazing. When I'm intimate with my PMDD partner, it is amazing, but it's also so fulfilling when I'm able to be intimate, when I don't have all of these things on my mind of thinking of things that I have to do. And if I have a whole bunch of things in the back of my mind where it's like, oh my goodness, I have to do this, I have to do that, it distracts me from being intimate. Whereas my partner can go straight into being intimate and not worry about anything that he has to do for the day until we're done. And then he feels the energy to go and do the things. So it's a matter of navigating that. So that's what we were arguing about. And when I had time for myself to really think about this, because I always reflect prior to each session that I have with my private clients and with me, and my PMDD partner, I'm like, these are understandable issues. It's understandable that if we have the same needs at different times, it's understandable why we keep missing each other. And it can also be understanding of why we can begin to believe that we don't want the same things. And that is such a lie. It is PMDD is so evil that will make you think that you're not compatible with your PMDD partner because the timing of what you need is different. And that's not true. And I want you to just recognize that. If you find yourself feeling like you're not getting your needs met, I want you to ask yourself, could it be the timing? Because I've identified this with so many of my private clients where it's been the timing. It's not been that they want different things or that their PMDD partners not wanting to give them what they need. They're wanting to give it to them just at a different time. So this is a time management issue, not a should we be together, should we break up issue. So it's always good to know what you're working with. So we had the conversation. Oh, no, no. Before the conversation, I was really thinking about, okay, what is the real issue here? Like, what is the problem that I'm having? So everything that I just told you was the real problem that I was having. I'm like, I just need sleep. And then I'll give you whatever you want. Like, I feel like someone getting robbed, like with my hands up. It's like, I will give you whatever you want. And it'll be fulfilling because I genuinely want it. So when I was thinking about that, okay, I was like, okay, I've identified the issue. And when we went into the conversation, we ended up arguing so much that we were arguing because I was defending my needs, he was defending his needs, and neither one of us were defending each other's needs. It was like, I need this, I need this, I need this. And it didn't make sense to my partner. It didn't make sense to him that the whole reason why the intimacy issue was going on with the morning was because I wasn't getting sleep. Like he was like, what's the big deal? And then you begin to think it's malicious. You begin to think, okay, wait a minute. So you're wanting all this time to yourself. You don't want to meet my needs for intimacy. You don't want that. And that's not the case, but that's how he was feeling. He was feeling unloved because he felt like in his mind, you should always want to be intimate with me, whether you're sleepy or not. And for me, that is not the case. I don't do I have done. Let me not lie. Let me not lie and say I haven't done sleepy sex. I've done it, but I like to give my all, if you know what I mean. Like I like to be fully in, when I say intimate, I like to be into it. So I don't want to, you know, half do it or give you like a little, like that for me is just not, I don't feel connected afterwards. It doesn't do anything for me. It's just an act. If it's just like, hey, we're checking a block, I'm like, what was that? I almost feel worse. Like, wish I wouldn't have did it. Like 10 out of 10, do not recommend. Like, I just feel like it does more harm than it does good because if you taste something and it leaves a sour taste in your mouth, then when you think about tasting it again, you're going to be like, that's okay, or I'm good. But if you taste something and it tastes amazing, then when you go to taste it again, you're going to be like, yes, I want more. Give me seconds, make it a double, whatever that is. So I want every single time that I'm intimate with my PMDD partner to feel like that. I want to feel like I'm wanting more. I want to feel like it's fulfilling, not just physically, but emotionally. I want to feel connected. And I know that there's been times where we've gone to be intimate and it's not like been fulfilling for him. And I know that and like it's kind of like in his mind, it kind of checked the block so that he can feel secure and not have those insecure feelings. But I also know that he didn't feel that connectedness because afterwards I didn't feel connected. And part of his experience is me feeling connected afterwards. Like he needs that validation. And if I'm kind of like, oh, okay, it's kind of like none of us are getting our needs satisfied. So I was talking about sleep and he was just talking about I think he said like, oh, he was in his Frozen. I call it the Frozen era. Like, Elsa Anna, the movie Frozen. He was in his let it go stage. He was like, just let it flow. Let's just see how things go. Because he's coming to visit. He'll actually be here in a couple days. And he's going to be here for a couple weeks. And he was just like, I don't want to make a plan for when I come there. I just want to let it flow. And I was just like, blink, blink. Like, what are you talking about? Let it flow. Like, we're not going to let it flow. In times in the past where we've let it flow, it has not flown well. So, like, why would I do that? Why would I wait until we get into the situation? Now we're fixing it while we're in person and like emotions are high, all these things. He's like, I just, I just want to like, because I was trying to lay it out, like, hey, we need to do this at this time. He's like, let's just let it flow. And I was like, that's not worked for us in the past. Like, no. So this is what I mean by he called me out. Because in the rules of the communication when we have the sessions, when your PMDD partner starts to talk, you cannot interrupt them. I wanted to, and because I couldn't, because it was, part of the session, I didn't interrupt him, but he literally said, he was talking about something else. And then I was listening. I was like, okay. He was like, I just think that we need to navigate it in a way where it's not so structured about how our days are going to go, the issues that we're going to have, because maybe it'll be different this time. And I was more on the sense of like, it's not going to be different. It's going to be the same. So like, let's make a plan. And he said, you have no idea how controlling you can be when in PMDD. And I was like, I I paused because immediately I wanted to get on the defensive. I wanted to defend myself because when you start using words like I was talking about in previous episodes, like controlling, manipulative, narcissistic, abusive, all of these words, your immediate reaction is to defend yourself. But I wasn't allowed to speak at the time. So I kind of like had to take it in. And this is the power in the rules of engagement for the PMDD private sessions is, you know, I had to let him get it out and let him finish speaking before I responded. So that kind of sunk in for me. A lot of times when your partner immediately says something and you go to defend it, it doesn't ever sink in for you because you're kind of like using it like a ping pong or tennis where you're hitting it back into their court. Well, what about you? What do you do? And that's the defensiveness. But I wasn't allowed to be defensive because I wasn't allowed to speak. And trust me, I had a lot to say. So because I wasn't allowed to speak and he called me out on being controlling, and I really had a chance to let that sink in because he continued to give me examples and say, you're so controlling with your morning routine. I can't talk to you until after this time. You're so controlling with your evening routine. You got to make sure you get sleep. You're so controlling with this. We're not allowed to do this and this and this. And I was immediately offended. I immediately wanted to defend myself. But then I thought about it. And that's what the PMDD pivot does. That if you've not joined the PMDD Partners Breakup Proof Academy, last week's session was on the PMDD pivot. It was a tool that you can use when you're about to go into PMDD rage. And this tool helps you not to do that. And I taught that tool. Matter of fact, it was 2 weeks ago. I taught that tool. But if you're part of the academy, you can catch the replay. And it really has helped me so many times that at that moment, I had the PMDD pivot and I was like, man, I would have 175.25333% went off on my PMDD partner for calling me out. Like, how dare you call me out on getting my needs met? But again, all of this is in my head because I can't communicate it, which was actually helpful because at the end of this conversation, I didn't really have anything to apologize for because I didn't even get a chance to get it out. So he said, you have no idea how controlling you are when you're in PMDD. And I kind of sat with that. And then when it was my turn to talk, because he continued to give me examples, I said, yes, you know what? I I admit, I admit that I am controlling when I'm in PMDD. And I said, let me tell you why. So this was huge. This was huge for me, for my partner to accuse me of something, and I actually admit to it and say, yeah, that's me. That's me. And not in a sarcastic way, not in a like condescending way. I literally was like, well, I kind of am. And then I said, no, I 100% am. And I told him, I said, the thing about it is when I wake up in the morning, I have an array of PMDD symptoms. I don't have one, PMDD does not consist of one symptom, which some days I'm like, I just need one. Like the only two symptoms that tend to fluctuate for me, like the big ones, are anxiety and depression. I don't know if this is a thing, but I do not have the ability to have anxiety and depression at the same time. When I call those the highlights, the PMDD highlights, there'll be days that I'll be depressed and days that I'll be anxious. And so those are the things that will switch. But I thought about the other day, I'm like, hey, if I only had to deal with one instead of anxiety, brain fog, paranoia, intrusive thoughts, like every, they bring so many things along with them. And people have a hard enough time managing anxiety. Like in the DSM, which is the diagnosis of statistical medicine, basically this is the big giant book that your counselors, your psychotherapists, all of the people look in to diagnose you of a disorder. In the DSM, there are hundreds of disorders. And then from those disorders, there are symptoms that go along with them. And I was thinking about PMDD. I'm like, PMDD is like taking so many of the disorders that are in the DSM and mixing them all together. But each symptom has, or each disorder thing, like anxiety, has multiple sub symptoms that come under that. And when you have a symptom like depression, you have the sub symptoms of what that looks like under it. So absolutely. I am controlling when I am in PMDD because I am controlling every single symptom that I have. I have to use a different tool for each symptom. They're not even really related half the time. Like if I'm having a craving and then I'm having depression and then I'm having intrusive thoughts, like though I have that, those are different tools. I can't use the thing that I use for the cravings and it just automatically work for the other symptoms. So what I was noticing and what happens a lot of times with my PMDD private clients is you go to be so controlling over your PMDD and the symptoms that you have, and it translates into your relationship. You feel like you have to be controlling in order to minimize the impact of the PMDD symptoms that you have. So it's not a bad thing that you are controlling your PMDD symptoms. It is just the aftermath of what that looks like in your PMDD relationship. Because my PMDD partner doesn't need me, which he so adamantly said. He was like, I don't need you to control me when you're in PMDD. I've been rhyming lately. I don't know. Maybe I should just write some poetry. I've been doing that a lot. Um, but he was saying, I don't need you to control me and my actions and what I do and what I don't do. And so I got a little bit defensive after, when it was my time to talk because I said, well, that's weird. You know, you know how you get into the moment where you're about to go off and you say stuff like, well, that's it. Yeah, it's just funny that, or it's ironic that you say that, or really, because you're saying like that was one of my starting phrases that I know that I was about to, potentially go off in PMDD rage, but I was still using the tools. But that's one of like the highlights. It's like if you find yourself about to do one of those phrases, you're probably about to go off on PMDD rage. So I was literally like, well, that's weird because you have no problem with me being controlling when I'm telling you what you can do. You just have an issue with me being controlling when I tell you what you can't do. And he was like, what are you talking about? I said, well, when it comes to me being controlling about where we're going to go out to eat and what we should do around the house and what we should do with this, you have no problem with me picking a place or me doing this or me doing that. And then we go out and we have an amazing time. That's me being controlling. The same way that I'm planning out the things that we're going to do when I have my symptoms as far as we're concerned is the same way I'm controlling the narrative of what time we go out to dinner, what we do as a family. What like you love that part because it is in alignment with what you want. But as soon as I say, hey, we can't do this, then it's a problem. And he kind of got quiet and he kind of took that in for a little bit. And I thought, wow, I think I'm winning. You know how you get that point in your argument where your PMDD partner doesn't say anything, you're like, I won. No, he was just thinking. It just took him a minute. And he was like, no, 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 it's not that. When you're being and then I was like, backspace, backspace, backspace. I'm not winning. And he was like, when you're being controlling while you're in PMDD, you're being controlling in a way that's rude. You're being controlling in a way that's demanding, that is your way or the highway, that is, this is absolutely have to happen. And I was like, again, it wasn't my turn to talk. So I was like, oh, here we go. But I had to take it in. And I pled guilty again. I was like, yeah, that is true. Because a lot of times when I'm in PMDD, I have this fear that whatever happened last PMDD cycle is going to happen again. And so I feel like it is my job, it is my duty to put things in place so that it doesn't happen again. But then I thought about it. I'm like, a lot of times I've done that, and it has been in a way that I was controlling, like with how I presented it. Not that what I was saying is wrong. So that's what I want to tell you. A lot of times it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I know you've heard that before, but when I'm in PMDD, I get very matter of factly with my communication with my PMDD partner. And that's where I notice that's the issue. The issue is not what I'm saying, the issue is how I'm saying it. I'm saying it not from a place of love, not from a place of connectedness. I'm saying it in a place of judgment, of like, you need to be doing this. And I'm saying it in a way of like, it has to happen, and not in a place of compromise, not in a place of, okay, let's talk about this, collaboration. None of that is happening. I'm like, listen, because it's coming from a place of fear. It's coming from, listen, if we don't do this or we do this way, this is going to happen. And so when my partner called me out on that, on being controlling, I agreed. I said, yeah, guilty again. And you don't deserve that because I'm not your mom. I'm your partner. And how I am with my child, our children, how I am even with our dog, like you can't treat your children, your dog, and your partner all the same way. I know it makes sense sometimes when you're in PMDD and you get into kind of like autopilot where you're like, hey, I gotta let everybody know what's up. Like PMDD is coming. You can't do this, 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 and this, and this, and this, but you need to do this, 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 and this. That doesn't end well. It doesn't communicate to your PMDD partner that they're actually a partner. It communicates that they're beneath you and you're being very authoritative. That's the word. You're being a very authoritative, and again, it doesn't end well. So I created something because I was like, you know what? I am in a place where I am actually guilty of this. And thanks to my private session with my PMDD partner, I am guilty as charged. My PMDD partner called me out and I'm guilty. And so I created this 7-day mini course called The Art of Communicating with Your PMDD Partner: How to Stand Up for Your Needs Without Your PMDD Partner Accusing You of Being Controlling. So in this course, I am going to teach you what it looks like to not need what you need, but I'm going to teach you what that looks like, how to be able to have that communication with your PMDD partner in a way where you're actually letting your PMDD partner know what you need and what you don't need while you're in PMDD, without it coming across as being controlling and or verbally abusive and or manipulative and or narcissistic, all of those lovely words that our PMDD partners say and we say when we get into arguments. And it's like you're never getting your point across because you're being called these things, and that's not how it's supposed to go. Okay, so within this course, it's only 7 days. You can go to the link in my bio to get it. I'm going to take you step by step on how to navigate this. If you are within the PMDD Partners Breakup Proofs Academy, I am connecting the two. So here's what that means. If you're part of the academy, you get this included within your membership. If you're not a part of the academy, you get to purchase it outright. Just if you just know, hey, I just need the tools for this. I just need to know how to do this. I don't need the sessions. I don't need all of this extra support. I don't need any of this. I just know that I'm listening to this and I need to know how to do this. Then you can do that as well. Um, Go to the link in my bio. You're going to be able to get this. Again, it is very simple, 7 days, and it doesn't have to be 7 days in a row. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, I need to have time to do that. I'm going to make it very simple for you. You can complete it within 7 days. You can complete it in a day if you feel the need to. But it is going to be 7 days worth so you get a chance to really reflect on what I'm going to teach you so that when you're communicating with your PMDD partner and you're really feeling like, you know what, I am trying to communicate to them in a way of not shutting down, because I know that's what I used to do so many times. It was if I try to make my point or say something to my PMDD partner and they just didn't get it, they were kind of like, why is this? Or they weren't receiving it well. I would just be like, you know what, forget it. And I would shut down. I don't want you to shut down. It is very important that you're assertive in what it is that you need and what it is that you want. You want to stay open. But a lot of times when you're in PMDD, it can come off as rude or controlling. And it's because people don't like being told what to do and how to do it. Your PMDD partner doesn't want you to tell them what to do and how to do it. The trick is learning how to stand up for yourself and your needs without making your PMDD partner feel like you're the enemy. This is a skill that you can develop, and it takes practice, but once you know how to do it, then if you can tie it to anything that comes up in your PMDD relationship. Anything that's going to come up, you can tie it to that. And I want you to be able to recognize that you need to communicate to your PMDD partner. This is not a situation where I'm telling you to just keep your needs to yourself. We've talked the last couple of weeks on the needs that you have. I want you to actually have those needs met, but I want you to do it in a way where your partner is not bitter. You're not feeling guilty about that afterwards. So if you know that this is something that you're needing, join the PMDD Partners Breakup Proof Academy or get this 7-day mini course. Go to the link in my bio. I'll put it in the show notes here. Remember, anything that's going on with your PMDD partner that you know that you need to have addressed, it's going to come up when you're in PMDD. 1000%. It's not something that you can ignore, and it's just going to make your PMDD symptoms even worse. So it's kind of like you need to just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off and say, you know what, I need to address this, but I need to do it in a way that's not going to cause damage to my PMDD relationship. We got this.
I hope this PMDD episode helped you and your partner in your struggles within your relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with and you need further support, individualized support, make sure you're going to inlovewithpmdd.com and you're getting those private sessions to really work through what you're going through in your relationship, specifically in regards to PMDD. And also, I want you to leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. What this does is it helps other PMDD sufferers and partners find this show that can help them get these free PMDD relationship tools. I remember what it felt like to not know that there were tools out there specifically for PMDD relationships. So I want to make sure that you are sharing these tools with others, share them on your social media, share them with people that you know that are also struggling in their PMDD relationships. Until next episode, this is Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. One more thing, I almost forgot. I now have the Fresh Start PMDD Partners Workbook. What this workbook can do is if you've had past traumatic experiences with your partner, past fights, past arguments, and they keep coming up every single month in PMDD, I created a fresh start workbook so that you can deal with all of the traumatic experiences that have happened in the past in PMDD range and all of these things so you can stop going through the same cycle again and again and again. So get that workbook. It comes with a video episode of the actual podcast that I recorded on getting a fresh start in your PMDD relationship. So you're not continuing the same cycle again and again and again. So make sure that you get that workbook. And if you need those individualized counseling sessions, you know where to go, inlovewithpmdd.com. Until next time, we got this. Love you.